How's it going, everyone? My name is True Wonder Dog, and today I wanted to talk about a couple of exciting reveals that happened for MK11 recently. You see, in the past 48 hours we've been given high quality renders of both Shao Kahn and Dark Raiden. They look absolutely fantastic, so let's talk about them a little bit. Now I'm gonna level with you, this video is mostly just me rambling, although I do have bullet points in front of me, but please be warned that I do tend to digress on separate topics a little bit and wander here and there, but I'm just very excited to see these outfits and I want to talk about them at length. So first up, let's talk about Shao Kahn because we have more to see with him. As for Raiden, he ain't even got no legs, much like PewDiePie, so floating Raiden confirmed. Nah, I'm just kidding, of course you know he has legs, you've watched the reveal trailer. But anyway, let's talk about Shao Kahn. Now this design has me very excited, and it's more in line with the first reveal we got of him as a pre-order bonus in the initial debut trailer. As opposed to the other render we got where he was more like a samurai warrior, this one looks more in line with what we saw in that high quality CG render, and my god, this guy looks good. If this is in fact in-game footage with like no dressing, no touching up in Photoshop, then my god, this game's gonna be gorgeous. But let's go ahead and talk about the design. So everyone's freaking out about a couple of things. Mainly his arms, right? Both the arms are freaking people out, so let's talk about that. Because the number one theory a lot of people have is that he's absorbed the Dragon King Onaga, or in fact they've used that body as a vessel to bring him back, or vice versa, something along those lines. And for anyone not aware, this would be similar to a past Mortal Kombat game where Reptile was used as a vessel for Onaga to return through. So this time it would be Shao Kahn instead, which does make a bit more sense since he is definitely not a jobber like my boy Reptile. I'm sorry Reptile, I love you, but unfortunately the developers made you a punching bag despite your initial debut as a secret boss. You've fallen a lot from grace since then, and Shao Kahn is definitely a much tougher character. He makes a lot more sense as a vessel for the Dragon King. And I do think that is the most likely reason for why Shao Kahn looks this way. However, I'm also not willing to dismiss the other theory about this new design, which is simply that Shao Kahn has never really been your average Outworlder, and they're trying to make his design reflect that a bit more. You see, Shao Kahn is just absurdly strong, on a whole different level than pretty much anyone else in the game, aside from a couple characters who do canon defeat him, but those characters are also in a tier of their own. However, despite this absurd power level, Shao Kahn just looks like a regular guy, only a bit bigger, right, a bit beefier, but he doesn't look that imposing compared to characters like Onaga. And so it could be this design is simply trying to reinforce that Shao Kahn is not human. He's not your average Outworlder, he is a different species entirely, and he's very powerful. And I like that theory as well, however it does have the same kind of plot hole as Frieza from Dragon Ball Z, where you ask yourself, why is Frieza so much stronger than every other member of his race? And I do think that's explained in the manga somewhere or in some interviews, but the show itself never directly states, I don't think at least, why Frieza is so powerful compared to his father or other characters of that nature. Which of course begs the question why the army wouldn't just be made of Frieza people, right? If Frieza is in fact the strongest, why would he not surround himself with his own species if they're in fact that powerful? And that would of course be the problem with Shao Kahn here as well. Why is Shao Kahn so much stronger than everyone else in his species? Or maybe, you know, he's a runaway. That could also be a thing. Maybe there's a different realm where they're all as strong as Shao Kahn. Maybe he's even a weaker one and he ran away to take over a weaker realm. That'd be pretty funny actually, though I doubt it. That's just me making up my own fan canon, but that would be hilarious if he was actually just a weaker version of his own species and ran away. Anyway, I'm digressing, I'm sorry. So next up, let's talk about Raiden, because Raiden's outfit is pretty amazing. Let's pull it up here real quick, we're doing this live. Okay, so as mentioned earlier, Raiden does not have legs, so let's go ahead and skip to his upper half and talk about that. Now this is in fact the same Raiden we saw in the reveal trailer, and he looks really good. Much better than the initial screenshots for the gameplay, which had me a bit concerned from certain angles, but I understand that they were probably still touching things up, and that footage was very early. It was like alpha footage, not even beta. So first up, you likely noticed his amulet, because it is up front and center on his chest. The very center of his body, it's not hiding off to one side, it's right there in the center for everyone to see. So I think the developers are trying to wink nudge nudge that this Raiden is just gone. He's too far gone, he's now on the dark side, he's fallen completely just like Darth Vader. Nah, more like Emperor Palpatine. This guy is not only evil, but he's pushing an evil agenda on everyone else, right? Which I personally think is a nice change of pace, very similar to how when Injustice made Superman evil, I was very up for that too, because I hadn't seen it very often before. Only a couple times here and there, and it's always fun to explore what evil Superman would be like, and here we have evil Raiden, who is the Thunder God, and he's very powerful, and he has the amulet that Shinnok used to wear, which makes him even more powerful. However, that being said, that amulet would be the best way to kill him as well. You take it off and then suck him into it, it's a giant weakness. that would be the equivalent of like carrying a very powerful gun right on the center of your chest, not even holster, just hanging it on a necklace, so someone could just take it and break the necklace and then shoot you with your own gun. That's pretty much what this is. However, that risk does have a huge reward. It makes Raiden much more powerful. This amulet is a gigantic buff. Not to mention it's perfect for killing and sealing away elder gods like Shinnok, for example. It's a very powerful tool. So not only is it fashionable, but it's also highly functional. So next up, let's talk about one more important detail here, which is Raiden's staff. And I didn't cover this for Shao Kahn because Shao Kahn's always had his hammer no matter what. It's always been a part of his moveset. However, for Raiden, that isn't really always the case. And like I've theorized in past videos, I think MK11 is going to have weapon-based combat. And not just weapons on the field that you can interact with, but actual weapons that you can equip, either in a stance or simply a special move, or even some way to end your attack string. I think weapons are going to play a pretty big role in MK11. And seeing as how Raiden clearly has his staff right here up front and center, this just reinforces that theory a bit more. And I did see one clever idea from someone in the comments who stated, maybe like Injustice where you have circle or B or 4 on the controller as an option for your trait, that could be your weapon button, and that could be really cool. I think that's actually a very sound theory for how that might work out, because it's been pretty good in the Injustice games to have one button devoted to just your trait, and in MK11 they could have that one button be devoted to just the weapon. That could be really cool. Now, would it be risky to change the entire button layout like that? Yes, it would, but keep in mind NRS does change the inputs for their characters in every single game thus far, so it's not outside the realm of possibility. So we covered the amulet, we covered the weapon, and next up let's talk about Raiden's design overall, because it is in fact very different from his initial appearance in MKX. In that game he still had the Dark Raiden attire on, but it just didn't look quite the same. And if I'm being personally honest, I think I do prefer how he looked in MKX, but that's just a matter of opinion. He definitely has more detail here. The textures are much better. This game's gonna look fantastic. I didn't think a game could look any prettier than Injustice 2, at least as far as fighting games are concerned, but man, NetherRealm just keeps topping themselves in terms of graphic quality. And even if I don't like this gear, keep in mind MK11 will have a gear system, just like Injustice 2, so you can unlock outfits through different means. Different parts of your attire can be mixed and matched to make the ultimate character. Make them look as cool as you want to. And thankfully this has always been cosmetic in ranked matches. They don't actually give you any advantage outside of that cool factor and just looking better than your opponent. Which, trust me, that can be a good mind game. It can put the opponent on tilt to look so dang good. So hopefully they carried over some of the attire from MKX, because that Dark Raiden outfit just did a little bit more for me. And there is actually one last thing I did want to touch on, which is that Raiden's default outfit appears to be his evil form. And I have no doubt that there might be some way to give him a good Raiden outfit, possibly to implies from a different dimension, even if he never goes back to being good in story mode, which I severely doubt he actually will, unless they kill him and resurrect him or something crazy like that. I think he's gonna stay evil for the duration of the game. But even so, I'd be surprised if NetherRealm didn't include any way to make him look good. And I mean that in the moral sense, not that he just looks more fashionably good. I mean looking like the good Raiden that we all know and have become used to. And this would actually be very different to how things were done in MKX, where all the characters were actually revenants in the story mode, but by default they had their good forms unlocked. So I'm wondering if this evil form will be default for every character who is still a revenant at the end of MKX. If so, that would be very interesting. I'm not sure if I'm on board for that. I think I'd prefer if Liu Kang was good by default, unless it's really easy to unlock the evil attire, in which case I wouldn't mind. But that Revenant skin did look really sick. I'm just saying I prefer good Liu Kang. He's my boy, okay? I grew up with the 90s films. He was such a good guy and such a hero, so seeing him evil does break my heart a little bit, even though he is really cool and very badass. And I feel the same for Katana, Jade, all those characters, but I am wondering if because Raiden starts off evil here as his default costume, that they might start off evil as well, and if so, that would be very fascinating. But that's just a theory, so please let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. I'm very excited to read how you feel about these outfits and your theories for MK11 in general. And while you're down there telling me your thoughts, please leave a like if you enjoyed this video. It really does help my channel out a ton. And then feel free to keep that combo going by subscribing and ringing that bell. That way you never miss any future videos. Make sure to come back next time, and as always, stay underdogs.